Yellow's on. Yeah, yellow's on. Get down to how we think. I don't think we think in pictures, and I don't think we think in words, we think in feelings. And this at least brings up the fact that we don't think in words. So this is just a nice relationship that I like to bring up, because people always say that I'm in my own universe and that I have my own little world, and it doesn't really apply to the issues of contemporary life. But I do believe that my work has to do with contemporary life. I just wanted to bring this up. And then, of course, I was a wreck with my work. When we dream, I don't think we dream in literal narratives. We dream in feelings. And the context of feelings are abstract. This is half of the piece. Half of them are stretched. These are unstretched, and these are stretched. And they're all printed on yellow. There's a part of my work where I have colors under a green light. And this changes the fact that it's printed on yellow, it changes the color of everything. Yellow being the representation of the arts anyway. So it has to do with consciousness. And then a lot of these are internet, like that's avatars from the back. And then this is from, again, from the internet, which is an accident that took place in Russia. And you just have the point of view of the car that hit the other car, me in a performance. So those are my pants. I took my jeans off and I took a photograph looking down my pant leg, and that's what this is. Those are mostly my pants and my shirt. That's subconscious. My pockets. My keys are in my pocket. There are 32 here, and there's 64 in the entire set. And there's a lot of stuff in here which is quite graphic. Death, sex, but I'm not showing any of that. I'm showing the other part. One of my favorite, this is a new one, which is the depiction of life. You go on the internet, and a lot of these are from the internet, and you type in the word life. This is life. This is life. This is life. This is life. These are all depictions of life, which are very particular. And then you have the depiction of dreams. That's what this was, dreams. So this is how dreams are, obviously it has to do with the night. But then again, the balloons pop in. And you have this world of dreaming. Flowers, human bones, sleep. That one's upside down. Okay. Yes, it is upside down. It's upside down. And then this is, I was at a restaurant 2 years ago, and the iPhones are incredible because what this is, I'm looking in my glass of Coke. There's the lemon, and then there is a straw that's sticking out from the glass, and I'm going into the straw. And that's what this is. It's going into the straw of the glass. So there's the straw, and there's the lemon, and I'm going, that's looking down. The iPhone's incredible of how it can take photographs that way. So that's the straw in a glass. Again, it's about going in. That person, that crazy person, wants to go in. Here's bed. Really basic subjects. Bed and bathroom. So that's being in bed, and the depiction of being in bed, and beds. And this is in the bathroom itself. People kissing, fighting, virtual death. This is our virtual death, and Cinerama. Going for the first time that the media of Cinerama was represented. And then that's one piece. The second piece is the meaning of things, which is this long set of tables, and then representing the work, which is the bed sheets. The representing the work, all the bed sheets were put on my history of my work, going back to this piece, for instance. This is from 1970, 71. Me taking photographs of empty spaces. So this is really from performances from the early 70s when I was at Cal Arts, here, destroying a corner. But the thing about this is that I wanted to represent all my work on a bed sheet, that it could be folded up and put into a case, and then I could do an exhibition about the body of work that would be really cheap to move and show. So this would be like a carnival show, that it represents all my ideas, and I could actually cheaply send it to somewhere, and they could put up my work, and it would not cost them so much money. It would not have a big problem. And so that's what that was. That was the title of this show, and that's the title of this piece, and that's also the title of the book. The book is, every one of these bed sheets has a page in the catalog. And so it covers all my work from the beginning to now. And you start to see, you can start to build it all up. This is all writings, drawing, fictitious death, self-portrait as a ghost. These are pieces of mine from the early 70s, drawings. And then on this is the meaning of things, which all comes from the internet, that really deal with the subject of entering the picture. The way that the way that the internet is used. And I have here a depiction of sex, but from the point of view of one of the partners in the sex act, or both, it could be both here, and then also the depiction of violence, where you have the decapitation of heads, and the notion of and here's a needle in the eye, which has to do with, like, you don't want to see this. This is like, you don't want to see any of this. This stuff is dangerous. And that's what I was interested in. I was interested in the depiction of something, that pictures are more than simply being a piece of paper. They're dangerous. They can be dangerous. Words can be dangerous. And it's all mental. This is all mental, and I'm really kind of exploring the mentality of that. And this is, again, all coming, everything in this piece comes from the internet. And so I'm using my work that I've been thinking about for 45 years, but I am making it, and I am bringing it up in this new context. And then the squiggles all come from that person. All this kind of crazy drawing. You could say that when you write a letter, there are some people that can analyze who you are by handwriting. How you handwrite tells you about your subjectivity, about who you are. So it depicts not the subject necessarily, but the subject of the how. The subject of the process. You as you are in your subconscious is depicted not in the words, it is in the words, but it's also in the form. And that's, in a way, that's what this is, which is the brain. It represents the brain. This kind of, this loopy craziness comes from that person. That person is really me in a trance state. So the relationship between the trance state and the internet is being exhibited in this piece. There's 603 pictures. There's 680 pages, something like that. Yeah, what is, then you have to say, what is representation? Representation. Presenting the work or representing the work, they're two different things. And when you're talking about mental state, what's the difference? Because none of it's real anyway. It's all in our head. So then it becomes, when you say the difference between representing and presenting has to do with generation. It's like the first one is the real one, and the second one is not. You know, so the first time I do it is the real thing, and then the next one it's not. So there's always this when you're saying everything, if all pictures are mental, then show me the real picture. Where's the real one come? And in today's world, when you're talking about digital information, where there is no the real one doesn't exist. It doesn't have to. That's the problem. You know, it's endless, and you know, like these could all be these are all hand drawn, but they don't have to be. You know, I did the drawing on the thing, it's a problem of today's world, you could say. Like here, look at the double. You know, it's a double thing. See, whenever you see this sign, that's the sign of the first person, which is the visual field. The visual field. Like this is a very famous picture from the early, I think it might be even 19th century, early 20th century, where the person drew themselves, and there's the brow of the eye inside the world.
The nose here.
The nose, and the nose is depicted, yeah. And this is the box that this entire piece comes in this box, and it's really my Duchampian box because it shows everything. So I wanted to be able to show all the parts of my work, and I reproduced it. Like for instance, this bed sheet, I cut up a book of all my rubbings. So my rubbings are all in that one picture. And then there's the self-portrait under hypnosis, which I did in the early 80s. And there it is, I reproduced it. So it really covers all my work. All these pictures I made in the last 10 years, and they're all on 2 by 2 meter blocks, unstretched, and they're all done in black and white, and they're my favorites of all the rubbings. There's something very, very, very simple about just doing it black and white, as opposed to color. Because, for instance, that one, those are all bright, bright colors in the stretched versions. But in this instance, it's brilliant for me to see them just in their elemental stage. Simone mentioned that they look a little bit like tattoos. There's a kind of a quality. They're all rubbed, and they're simply black and white. My favorite cartoonist is Tintin. I love Tintin. And all the cartoons are Tintin. If you see a cartoon, it's going to be Tintin. That's not Tintin, that's different. But that one's Tintin. Tintin's all of this area. And then the words are important. Now you notice that the pictures themselves are this much too big for the wall. They all go onto the floor. Just that much. Now if they were stretched, we couldn't have shown them. But being unstretched, they could do it. They could go all the way onto the floor, and they have. So it actually is nice to have that fact that it is not stretched, that it is a folded object represented in the piece. This typeface I invented, this typeface. It's based very much on the same geometry that those charts are from. That's 1 to 2. So the typeface really fits. It comes from the structure of the work itself. And when you cover, there's this kind of like this white cloud, walking into this white cloud, where everything gets much larger after the meeting of things, which was much smaller. It's nice to end here. And I like putting pictures on the floor. I like looking down at pictures because when you see a table with images on it, it's a different brain than when you see images on the wall. So we've taken pictures that are always on the wall, we've put them on the floor, so we're reading them differently. And I think that, again, is back and forth. Back and forth. And I could go into details for sure. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, very important subjects. And the whole notion of how one enters the picture, the articulation of narrative within physical objects that we live our life with. My son is on the iPhone. When he's on the iPhone, the most popular thing he enjoys doing is coming attractions for films. That's what he enjoys. So you're not involved in the narrative of the movie, you're just involved in the depiction of the narrative. So there's that distance that actually I've had in my work from the very beginning, that distance of narrative. So I'm depicting narrative without necessarily understanding it. Postmodern, yes. It is, totally. I'm a postmodern artist that way. And then dead man. There's a dead man in every one of these pictures. That's done, they're from the Civil War. These dead people. I love to work for truth and beauty. That's the mantra of that person. That's what he says. And this is a chart from the 19th century. And you can get to see the detail that occurs. Well, I was not brought up a Catholic. I was not brought up in religion. Mm-hmm. My mother is from Venezuela.
All right.
My father is from Oklahoma. I grew up in a house. They collected art, but mostly it's Indian art from around the world. I grew up with art, and so the cosmology is in all the artworks that were surrounding me. When I'm depicting heaven and hell, it's not so much about like participation. It's not about that I believe I'm going to go to heaven or I'm going to go to hell. In my cosmology, you go to both. At the same time you go to heaven, you go to hell. You do both. You don't go, it's not a choice, it's not good and bad. Heaven is not about good and hell is not about bad. Heaven is about the subject and hell is about the object. So this is my view of it. And my interest is the fact that it was a very important subject in the history of art. You want to go back more than 300 years or less even, maybe 200, maybe 50 years. Most art was involved with the subject. The subject really, you go to Hopi land, you go to the Asmat, you go to Egypt, you go to Rome, you go to China, you go to Japan, you go around the world, and that is the subject. It's basic. It's a basic. You go into the, it's the basis of human creativity. It's really core. Now, I'm trying to understand what art is. My favorite artists growing up as a teenager was Andy Warhol, the pop artists. As a student, I loved Joseph Beuys, obviously, and Bruce Nauman. Those were my two favorites when I was a kid, when I was an artist in school. And yet, the fact that I represent a cosmology in my work, as I said, is a problem. I have they're dealers, they're people that don't understand my relationship to this because they see it as born again. My heaven and hell is born again, but it's not. There's distance. I'm using it as a subject, and I don't believe in it. It's not an end in itself. It is a model to understand the context. It's a model to understand the context of human creativity and the art world and art. Trying to understand what does it mean to be an artist? What is the difference between art and design? In today's world, art and design are synonymous. They are the same thing in today's world. Art, design, fashion are all, and branding, and money, and popularity, and celebrity are all in the same boat. I'm trying to understand what art is. What is it?
You look for your identity because you are in the middle of your mother and your father.
Yeah.
You are two poles, irrational and rational.
Yeah. My father was pretty irrational as well.
Irrational, your mother is
irrational. My mother is.
You are in the middle.
I'm in the middle. It's the middle. It's the middle between.
Of.
I had a conversation with Rosemary Trockle, and she said, "So where do you live? Do you live in New York or do you live in Berlin?" And I said, "I live over the ocean. I live between. I'm between." And she says, "I've always thought about you as being in between. You're in between this and you're between this. You have both." And so she sees me as being really in the between these 2 points. That's really the key. I think we're supposed to go towards lunch.
Okay, that's good.
Sorry.
The